Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, and I think it's time for the people of North Carolina to rise up and demand that our state does the same. Brian, can you give them some contact information of our local representatives?
Yes, one of our listeners, Terry, actually emailed this information in to us. If you want to contact your state representative in the North Carolina General Assembly for Gaston, Iredell, and Lincoln counties, this is Senator James Forrester. His phone number is 919-715-3050, and I have that here if anyone wants to call in later and get that again if you didn't get it now. And of course that's just for Gaston, Iredell, Lincoln counties. You can go to North Carolina General Assembly website and look for your particular representative if you don't happen to live in Iredell, Gaston, or Lincoln counties. And if you're like me, folks, you really don't want to pack up all your belongings and move to Texas, New Hampshire, states that actually represent their people and are trying to get some of this legislation passed to protect their people against this tyrannical government which is just steamrolling us at a ridiculous pace.
Yes, enough is enough. It's time for the people to rise up and send a message that we are not going to take it anymore. Our federal government has been hijacked by criminals. Also, we will be going to the phones here shortly. We want to hear from our listeners, but we've got a couple more news segments that I wanted to get in, and this is Illinois' bill would require gun owners to buy $1 million in liability insurance. This is being reported by the Insurance Journal, February 18, 2009. An Illinois state lawmaker is proposing that gun owners be required to carry personal liability insurance of at least $1 million. Representative Kenneth Duncan's bill seeks to amend the state's Firearm Owners Identification Card Act to provide that any person who owns a firearm in the state maintain a $1 million or higher policy of liability insurance, specifically covering any damage resulting from negligent or willful acts involving the use of such firearm while it's owned by such person. A gun owner would be responsible after a firearm is lost or stolen until the loss or theft is reported to the police department or sheriff of the jurisdiction in which the owner resides. Police would be empowered to pull the gun license of anyone who does not submit evidence of having the required insurance. The measure is now in the House Rules Committee in the Illinois House. According to this, a gun owner will be responsible after a firearm is lost or stolen until the loss or theft is reported. So he's responsible while the person that stole it has the firearm for any acts that the thief takes place. The unbelievable. This is something that's not reported by the mainstream press. We've got to get out and get this information out. This is another end round at the Second Amendment. We will have Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America on March 14th. He will be our guest. In my opinion, the only organization that's defending gun rights.
This is just one of many, many backdoor routes to removing your right to protect yourself.
Ammunition, attempts at ammunition bans, restrictions, but $1 million liability insurance plan being proposed in the Illinois House. People need to find out about that. And this was reported last week. I had it. Wasn't able to report it, but since it's went through court, I wanted to let everyone know. In Arizona, a gentleman who had been rounding up illegals on his own property was taken to court by the illegals. And let me get to this. 16 illegals sue Arizona rancher. An Arizona man who has waged a 10-year campaign to stop a flood of illegal immigrants from crossing his property is being sued by the 16 Mexican nationals who accused him of conspiring to violate their civil rights when he stopped them at gunpoint on his ranch on the U.S.-Mexican border. Roger Bornett, 64, began rounding up illegal immigrants in 1998 and turning them over to the U.S. Border Patrol. He said after they had destroyed his property, killed his calves, and broke into his home. His ranch near Douglas, Arizona is known by federal and county law enforcement authorities as an avenue of choice for immigrants seeking to enter the United States illegally. Trial continues Monday in the federal lawsuit, which seeks $32 million in actual and punitive damages for civil rights violations, the infliction of emotional distress, and other crimes, Also named are Mr. Barnett's wife, his brother, and Larry Denver, sheriff in Cochise County, Arizona, where the Barnetts live. The civil trial is expected to continue until Friday. The lawsuit is based on a March 7, 2004 incident in a dry wash on the 22,000-acre ranch when he approached a group of illegal immigrants while carrying a gun. All right, the trial finished this past week, and a federal jury found Tuesday that a southern Arizona rancher didn't violate the civil rights of a group of illegal immigrants who claimed that he had detained them at gunpoint. The 8-member civil jury also found, though, that Roger Barnett wasn't liable on the claims of battery and false imprisonment, but they did find him liable for 4 claims of assault and 4 claims of infliction of emotional distress, and ordered Barnett to pay $77,804 in damages, $60,000 of which were punitive. Unreal. He's got illegal aliens on his property. He's rounded up over 12,000 for an inept federal government that refuses to do their job. And then he is forced to pay $77,804. He was on Glenn Beck the other night.
Well, we go back to the border guard situation, Capilla and Ramos, putting them in jail for doing their job. I mean, there was definitely a message being sent out here, particularly to all the other border guards. Do not do your job.
I personally believe that the illegal immigration problem is by design, just like the economic problem. If they refuse to secure our borders, apparently they must want it that way, and it just precipitates our decline in our economy and more and more people seeking jobs. I don't think it's by accident, but I wanted to get that one in. I wasn't able to do it last week. An unbelievable story that gets very little mainstream press, but it was on Glenn Beck. We'll go ahead to the phones. We got a phone call. You're on the Real News. Are you with me? All right, drop that. We've got to take one more break, and when we come back after the break, we will go to the phones. The phone numbers are 704-873-1400 and 336-499-0681. You're on the Real News here on WSIC 1400, WDSL 1520. All right, we're on the Real News. If you're calling in, just hang on. We've got one more news story that we got to get in before we go to the phones. We will be going to the phones in just a minute. This past week, in a local Statesville newspaper that I will not call by name since they attempted to censor me at one time when I was trying to report the truth, but I just about fell out of my stool here at WSIC Studios when I looked, and in this newspaper, which is the February 19th edition, Secret Society sued for bones. Geronimo's descendants have sued Skull and Bones, the secret society at Yale University, linked to presidents and other powerful figures, claiming that its members stole the remains of the legendary Apache leader decades ago and have kept them ever since. The federal lawsuit was filed in Washington this past Tuesday on the 100th anniversary of Geronimo's death. Also names the university and the federal government. Both Presidents Bush, Massachusetts Senator John Kerry, and many others in powerful government and industry positions are members of the society, the paper reads. After years of famously fighting the U.S. and Mexican armies, Geronimo and 35 warriors surrendered to General Nelson A. Miles near the Arizona-New Mexico border in 1886. Geronimo was eventually sent to Fort Sill and died at the Army outpost of pneumonia in 1909. According to the story, members of Skull and Bones, including the former President George W. Bush's grandfather, the infamous and criminal Prescott Bush, I added that myself, dug up his grave when a group of Army volunteers from Yale was stationed at the fort during World War I, taking his skull and some of his bones, like them Skull and Bones members must like Skull and Bones, and placing them in the tomb at Yale University. So when I report this stuff, and I can't make stuff like this up, Skull and Bones exist. Our presidents are part of these secret satanic societies, and right here it is in boldface print in a local Statesville newspaper.
Again, for people unfamiliar with the secret occultist satanic society, the 322 Skull and Bones at Yale University, I believe.